then there are many others that the public are interested in, and having those meetings in the evening. But we don't have to have all of them. I mean, we don't need to have all the staff sitting here, as you said, ready to get up and tell us something every evening after they've spent the whole day here. So I think that you know, being judicious about it is a good idea, and I think we should start in Oakland. I mean, it is a key city, and people are familiar with Bart being here, and I think we should have some evening meetings here in Oakland.
Yeah, that wasn't. I know I've been. I know that staff don't like this proposal, just because, you know, there's a lot of items on our agenda, and there's a lot of people who need to be here for those items. And, you know, as I was thinking through this, I kind of thought that there's kind of two types of items that come to us. One is it's a lot of contract awards, etc., and then the stakeholders here are probably people for whom this is their day job, either the BART staff or the folks, the awardees, so they can be here. Then there's other types of things that we do, and I'm actually thinking about, you know, the budget hearings that we do annually, the fare increase, the parking charges, bike rule changes, etc., where it seems like, you know, there's certain items where you really want to hear from the public and make it as broad as possible. And I'm wondering if, you know, we do have these public hearings whenever there's one of those changes annually for the budget, and then we do it for fare increases and service changes. I'm wondering if maybe those, we could try doing some of those, because we do have some upcoming budget hearings. So try doing some budget meetings, at least in the evening, and then that could be our dry run on this. And what it might mean is we'd organize, you know, you'd have 2 meetings a month. One was kind of the evening meeting, one was kind of the more business-oriented meeting during the day. It might also mean building up our committee structure, which is fine. I mean, I don't think anyone at this point has much of an attachment to it, and kind of sorting these items into, you know, kind of what we think we should do at an evening meeting or an evening public hearing versus what can happen during the day. That's more business related. We're going to get it wrong, right? We're going to have items that we think is of interest to the public, and they're going to show up, and we're going to have items that we think are just routine business items, and we're going to have a group of angry members of the public here. So, you know, there's definitely a flaw in my proposal, but that would be kind of a middle course for folks, you know, rather than doing everything in the evening. Or the other option would be to start a little early, but really have those more business-oriented items early in the agenda, and then the ones where you really think you'll have public input after the end of the workday. So the folks, you know, all the engineers who come here for the, you know, thyristor and 480-volt switchgear and all those contracts, they can go home. And then, you know, Clever and Grace and the rest of them can stay till we smell hours. And the other thing, of course, was that, you know, whenever you start, it's like, you know, however many hours later, that's when it ends, right? So thinking about those, you know, 8-hour meetings that we had the last year, hopefully they're outliers, but I think, gosh, if we started those meetings at, you know, 5 o'clock, we'd be out here after the last BART train left. So certainly you'd lose your chair, if not most of the public. So that's also a consideration, you know, not overload those evening meetings. Because if you go too late into the evening, people need to get back home, they need to get back to their families, etc. Because a lot of people don't have a lot of freedom, especially if you've got family, in the evening to attend these meetings. And so then you raise issues of childcare and so on. So anyway, that was my idea, kind of ill-formed, but it's my idea. So, Director Bowman?
Yes, I wanted to add something as you were talking about other alternatives for staff to look into. We know that we can meet in this room. It takes special arrangements by Ken to have this set up for air conditioning and security and for video. But if we're going to look at other locations, I'm hoping that you'll find locations that still have video capabilities, because I think that's the best effort that BART has put into letting the public see into the board meetings and improving our transparency. So no matter where we do it, I think we ought to have the video capability. And the other thing about the afternoon, if you went to an afternoon meeting, as you were just saying, you could do some routine items early on, and then could break for a closed session, which the public wouldn't need to be here for. And then when we reopen, then you have the rest of the agenda that we want public participation. So a little structuring of the agenda might be helpful too.
Okay, thank you, Director Kelly.
I think, Tom, this is a good idea, and I think it's come forward. Maybe a way to proceed is you work with the two directors who proposing the staff and bring back something for our consideration when it's appropriate, and see how we can get started. As I will caution, in my prior life in local government, I did open a public hearing at 6 a.m. and the council voted at 6 p.m. and the council voted at 3 a.m. So there is the potential that this could be drawn out a long time. And you have 200 people who are almost completely divided. There's just no way to tell them to sit down and be quiet. So you have to go through the whole list. And if you just do the math, 403 minutes is a long time. And if you want to if there's a need to get that vote done, you just have to sit there. And I'm not saying this should be a deterrent to doing this. I'm just saying that there are some instances of some practical considerations that need to be considered. But I think going forward, certainly I have confidence you working with the two directors who's brought this forward and the general manager bringing something back for our consideration. I think would be more than appropriate.
If that's not a Brown Act problem.
No, it's not. No, except for the Personnel Review Committee, which has a very specific purview. We're all now committees of the whole, so we could sit down with the GM and see if we can hash something out. So, Director Rayburn.
Thank you, President Radulovich. I appreciate hearing from my colleagues some of the recollections about BART history here and past experiences. I'm in support of a pilot program to evaluate how it could work. I like serving on the Capital Quarter Joint Powers Board, having a schedule so that I know at the beginning of the year what we will meet here. Once a year we will meet out in Sassoon, other dates. And I think that model is something that could be explored. Not that we meet in Sassoon, though. But I'd like to also make sure that we put some constraints on, and I trust my colleagues and staff to carefully evaluate anything that's brought to us. One thing that we will need to do will be to better reach out to the public, to let them know about there is a change in schedule. You can't just get up on Thursday morning and show up and find everybody here. And part of that, I feel, needs to be an email alert system so that we can implement a program much like we've done in our procurement department, where people check a box on the website, say, gee, I want to know about these anticipated contracts or any contracts that are out, and we'll send out emails. And I believe we can do that with all of our meetings, whether they're advisory committees or the board meetings, and so that the public is able to receive an alert a couple of days before and say, oh yeah, that reminds me, I have an issue that is on their agenda, I'd like to attend the meeting. So making certain that we're really doing the outreach is what's going to drive whether the public comes in or not. And also one other model from the Capital Quarter that I personally like is our budget hearings are held on the trains. Now, I don't think that BART can conduct budget hearings on our trains, but we might think about some innovative ways that we reach out to the passengers, of course, with car cards to advertise that maybe we will find a space adjacent to the Powell Street station and hold a short budget hearing. And I think that innovative ways to reach out so that we're making the efforts that really do matter to the broadest majority of the public fully accessible I don't want to see us just burden staff or the other directors with late night meetings that frankly often would conflict with meetings in our adjacent jurisdictions, which I tend to attend quite often. So let's move forward with this, but with a few constraints.
Okay.
Thank you.
Dr. Moore?
Thank you all. I'm assuming Joel is pointing towards Director Saltzman and I in terms of working with the president and staff. I do want to give credit, though, to Director Saltzman. This was her big campaign priority. I've just been a part of poking at the president to agendize. But I share Director Rayburn's concerns of being considerate of municipalities and other transit agencies' meetings, and I'll share with staff after we are dismissed this matrix I created of evening meetings of the municipalities and transit districts in my district, District 7, and that might need to be further researched for consideration. We'll work out compromise for beginning, starting point, it sounds like. I do have a little bit of reservation of much movement in meeting location. I think having a common location for people to regularly attend is important for an entity like BART, but as I hear from colleagues and the 3 board members who have been assigned to look into this further, we discussed it. I'll certainly be open to negotiating that and finding a common ground. But yeah, just wanted to put that out there.
All right. Yes. Thank you, Director Keller, for volunteering for you for this. But so what I hear is there's some interest. Why don't we meet? We'll meet with the general manager and district secretary because there's some practical matters too. But there's 2 things. One, we could move around the time. We could move around the location. Moving around the location has some real challenges too. If you're moving around time and location, somebody with a brain as old as mine is going to miss meetings because it gets too complicated. The other thing is there's setup in different spaces that you don't know, audio, visual, recording, things like if we want to have these meetings televised, could we move all of that? So let's not change too many things all at one time. But in terms of changing meeting time, it sounds like there's some interest at least in trying something new and different. So we'll meet on that. But Director Saltzman, do you want to get in here? Have the last word?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank all my colleagues for being open to this. I've heard the history from many of you of trying this out, and I understand that it doesn't always work, and my intention is not to have us just meet late at night for the sake of meeting late at night. If we do it and nobody shows up, I'm open to not continuing to do it. I don't think that's going to be the case, but we'll see. So thank you, and I look forward to working on this.
Okay, any members of the public wish to comment on this item, the board meeting schedule, item 8B? Great, seeing none. Sorry. Yes.
Good morning, President Radulovich. I'm Alan Smith. And my concern is for those of us who are legally blind or low vision, our rods and cones don't work very well at night. I'm not going to be walking 2 blocks in the dark over here to attend the meeting, which I attend many of them, and also walking 3 blocks home from the bus stop, even though we have street lights. That is a major challenge. So consider the disabled community, please. Thank you.
All right. Great. We can actually, it might be a good idea just to whatever proposal we come back with, we could circle back to your committee and discuss options. General Manager Grogan?
Yes.